What's up, everyone? This is David Greenspan, and you are listening to Season 2 of the Mindshare Podcast, a proud member of the Industry Syndicate Media Network. Additional podcasts are available at industrysyndicate.com and mindshare101.com. This week's episode is sponsored by Kit's Keep in Touch Systems. This is episode 65. So many know her for her accomplishments as a highly successful realtor and a best-selling author. But this just begins to scratch the surface. She's an award-winning educator and influencer. She's an innovative CEO and a must-see keynote speaker. And in fact, she has spoken all over the world, from Garden City to Phnom Penh. She actively educates professionals in every realm of business leadership and relationships. She is a do-it-all professional. With a passion for motivating those around her to want more, she has worked with all ranges of the professional spectrum, from new-to-the-trade rookies to CEOs of massively successful brands. It is her ability to articulate complex concepts in ways that everyone can relate to that makes her leadership so impactful. And she says that she wants to leave her mark on the next generation of professionals. Whatever your field of business is, she has tools that can promote growth and team-oriented environments. She has the sales techniques, she has the experience, she has the passion, and she wants to help you. I had met her months back as we shared a stage together at the NAR Conference and Expo in San Francisco and thought she would be a great guest for the show. Joining me today from Charlotte, North Carolina to talk about the crazy shit in real estate is Leigh Brown. Leigh, welcome to the Mindshare Podcast.
Hey, David, thanks for having me. And just for the record, I was totally late to that event we were speaking at NAR, and I was on time today. So full disclosure, I'm not always late, even though I am a realtor.
You know what? I remember that. We walked in, and it's funny, though, because we walked into that particular one. There was a whole bunch of people just waiting around. It was like, okay, so what do we do?
It was a terrible setup. I mean, all the people are between the speakers and the door. What are you doing?
Well, I mean, I looked around. I saw a microphone on a stand. I figured, okay, let's just grab this thing and start rapping, right? So, that was a cool little session. But you know what? I do like what they did with that, though. I thought that was a cool moment to be able to say to people, like, where you've got the breakout rooms or you got the main stages or whatever. People are listening, they're learning. Now it's like, okay, let's go into a real informal, intimate room, which was incredibly informal, but like, let's get into this and just everybody ask some questions, which was cool.
You can actually have impact, which is good.
Well, that's the difference, right? Because typically we get up there, we talk kind of like to the audience, and it's like nobody really gets to say anything back to you. So it was a cool setup. I was excited about that. But one thing that I learned from sharing that stage with you was, like me, you were very straight to the point. And I like that shit. I love it, in fact.
Look,
so tell me this.
I'm sad for anybody watching this. Y'all didn't get to see the pre-roll because we were saying all kinds of things that you people wish you could hear, but only the government has heard it because I know they're spying on my stuff. I don't know about yours, but.
Oh, come on. You know, when you say Amazon or Google, they show up just like that.
They're awful.
Tell me this, though. I was as I was checking out your website, which I encourage everybody listening, if you haven't been there yet, make sure you do that. I mean, just straight up impressive. But one thing, and this is kind of what led us to today's topic. Tell me, what is the craziest shit you see in this business?
So can I tell you how fun it is that you're asking me that? Because my podcast is 3.5 years old. And it finally occurred to somebody a few months ago. They're like, how come you don't tell your stories? And I'm like, well, the podcast is about y'all telling yours, but all right. So I could tell 1,000 stories about real estate. I mean, that's the beauty of this game. It goes on forever. So there is no craziest shit, but there's plenty of crazy shit. So I always think about this one house that I went to, and it was a bank foreclosure, which during the Great Recession, they were no big shocking surprise to find. And I sell foreclosures because they're fun, and that's where all the good stories are. So some people like fancy luxury homes. I like a shit foreclosure because I'm like, oh, what we gonna find up in here? And so I drive my truck in, and now full disclosure, I always conduct real estate fully armed because I am a woman. I prefer to be safe.
Wait, I got to say, what does this mean, fully armed?
Let me turn my camera here and you can see. See on the door? Because listen, if you're going to carry, you have to practice. It's a very important rule You shouldn't be carrying if you're not trained. So I'm
Do you
trained and
sit
I
there
practice.
in your office and just practice at the door? Like, what if somebody's on the other side of the door?
Well, I don't shoot in here. That would be wasting ammo. I do have a dry fire thing I could use in the office if I'm having stress. And that's one reason to listen to Dan Bongino's podcast, because that's where I got the dry fire system that I'm using, and it's amazing. So anyway, different discussion altogether. You're Canadian. You can't even talk like this.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This is so not normal. Like, I got to tell
I
you,
have freedom over here in America.
talk about crazy shit. I was floating around on Facebook this morning, and I noticed there was a lady, and I mean, this is not a funny story. This is a sad story, but a lady who got attacked by a dog just a little north of here. And she had made mention of that. And they were warned, they were doing the show and they were warned about it. There's a crazy dog back there. Somehow the dog got loose and literally like almost took her hand off. And I mean, I say that without any joke. I hope she does all right. But now you come back to what you're saying about carrying.
You can't fix that dog. That dog is trained to do that. And that's not safe, especially as a woman doing real estate. So anyway, I carry a 380 in my business, and my 380 and I rolled up to this foreclosure house because I had to do an occupancy check. And that's always the fun part of a foreclosure is anybody still there or not? So I'm pulling down this driveway, which is a dirt driveway, and I'm driving past a trailer house on the left, which is also known as a mobile home. I don't know what y'all call them in Canada. Yeah. Igloos, I guess. And so it's over here on the left.
Hey, our igloos have internet, okay?
Right?
We can do this
Y'all
stuff. Look at this. You see the setup?
They're impressive. It's very cold in Canada.
They're impressive.
And I get to a fence, and it's like a metal iron fence, like with big old padlocks and giant chain on it. And I'm like, well, I can't get past this. So I got out of my truck and I walked around the edge of the fence to walk up to the house. And I get there, and it's a brick wall with a little door in it, kind of like The Secret Garden. Did you read that book when you were a kid?
I know The Secret Garden.
By Frances Hodgson Burnett. I love that book. And so it's like Secret Garden. I don't want to go find. And so I go through the little thing, and there's a single wide trailer. I'm like, well, all right. And can't get in because it's locked. And so before you bust in, you always try and see if there's a way in. So I walked around the property. Now, bear in mind, we're on 8 acres back in the woods. And so it's not me and some neighbors. I went past the trailer. Now it's me in the house. And I'm coming around the side, and an addition had been made down the whole side of the property, like a big giant shed, which had lots of fluorescent lights, lots of 14-foot high ceilings, and lots of ventilation, where they have been obviously conducting some entrepreneurial activities, growing weed. And so this was their weed facility. Of course, it was empty. They took the plants when they got foreclosed on.
Now, is that legal in where you are in Carolina?
No.
Okay.
Colorado, yes. North Carolina, no. It will be at some point because we have Asheville up in the mountains and they love pot. And so anyway, you go through the back of the grow house, and this single wide trailer had a 2-story house added to it. So if you can envision this, we had a trailer, and we had the grow house, and then we had the 2-story house, and they're connected by a garage in the middle. And then out the back of the garage, there's like a U-shaped courtyard where there was an in-ground pool. And I'm still trying to get my mind around what all I'm dealing with here in this house. And I went in the back door through the garage. Of course, it's vacant because pot house. And there's an IV bag hanging from the breakfast room light fixture. There's some needles in the ground. Oh, and I said, well, let me roll on back up to my truck because I don't believe I need to be here any longer. And so Bessie Mae and I went back up to the truck, and the neighbor from the other trailer house had come out, and he's holding his shotgun. He's looking very aggravated that anybody's back here. And he said, who are you? What are you doing? I said, I'm a realtor, and this is a foreclosure, and I am just trying to see who's here. And who are you? And he said, I'm the neighbor. You are illegally on my land. I said, I am not. I'm on the driveway. And he said, I own the driveway. I said, you do not. And he said, yes, I do.
And he's holding a shotgun while you're saying this to him.
I'm holding a 380, so I can take him down. I said, listen, and it's in my waistband so people can see it. You can't be secret all the time.
Can you just imagine that? Now, are you in like, a skirt and heels at this time? Like,
absolutely. I mean, what lady does real estate not wearing her pearls and her heels? Of course, I'm not wearing my pearls today because this shirt has decoration on it. But anyway, so I said, let me get your name and phone number. I said, because I'm not aware that the bank does not own the driveway too. And he was all mad. And I said, fine. I gave him my card. Went back and looked. For sure, he owns a driveway. This property is like 8 acres landlocked in the woods, all in the floodplain. And it's just a big old hot mess. And of course, we did manage to sell it because that's always fun. But that's probably one of my crazier moments in real estate. And as a grown person looking back, I'm like, I don't know what the hell I was thinking going out there by myself. I should have had company with me because like a lot of young realtors, you get that invincibility idea about yourself that it happens to other people and not to you. And so Now, of course, I preach to realtors to do it better, but that was one of my moments. I could talk for days about the things I have seen, and that was just one. But I
Well,
love it.
I brought this up on an episode I did recently, and I had asked the question, and I don't want to go over this thing like a broken record. However, talking about crazy shit in real estate, one thing that I realized is that there's a lot of crazy stuff that does happen, and a lot of stuff that happens between realtors. Never mind just the realtor, the homeowner, or going out and watching for a house. And so to take it there for a moment, one thing I'd ask was, what annoys you the most about other realtors? I put this into a group, and there's about 400 comments, and literally yeah. Seriously, right? So when we talk about crazy shit in real estate and we go down that road, tell me any experience with other realtors, or even when we look at what annoys you most about another realtor and we talk about the crazy shit, what kind of stuff are you seeing out there? Or what kind of advice can we give to people about how they deal with other people? Because professionalism these days is a big problem. Lack of respect is a big problem. Communication is a big problem, right?
I'm a goldfish. I got three things I want to say, but
I figure I'm opening a can of worms here.
If people who carried a real estate license, and especially the ones who call themselves realtors, they belong to the world's largest and most impactful trade organization. If they would just freaking act like real estate's a real job, they just don't act like it's a real job. I called an agent, I swear to you, this is my lips to God's ears. I called this agent 10 minutes before I came on your show because I'm trying to submit an offer on one of his listings for my buyers. I tried to call him. It went to voicemail. Oh, wait, it didn't because the voicemail is full. And I went to his MLS ID to pull his email address, which bounces. And then I went to text him and I said, hey, friend, I am trying to send an offer over on your listing. Your voicemail is full and your email has bounced. How may I get this to you? And he texted me back and said, oh.
That's it?
So that's what drives me crazy. Now, the man stands to make thousands of dollars. His homeowners, for whatever reason, they trust him with what is probably their largest financial instrument. And he can't even be professional enough to empty his daggum voicemail box so that somebody can leave a message. And don't hand me any bullshit about people don't want to talk on the phone anymore. That is the biggest excuse that drives me crazy.
I hear that one all the time.
There is no excuse for communication. And I can solve something in a 2-minute phone call that I can't solve over 3 days worth of text. And emails go to spam. There's so many artificial barriers that we put between ourselves and our clients in a successful transaction. But in addition to the bad telephone manners, you have realtors that don't dress like they're realtors. And I don't know that they really think about the fact that they're being paid as much money as they're going to be paid for a successful transaction, but they sure don't look like they're worth a toot. And I believe you should dress like you're worth. Now, today I'm just wearing a blazer and a top because I'm not with clients, but I always look like I'm at least halfway successful. And I would remind our realtor friends out there, they might think it's cool to be relaxed and stuff, but almost every house now has cameras on it, whether it's the Ring doorbell, the Nest doorbell, the government flying a drone over you. And we have sellers now that are pulling the video off their Ring doorbell and forwarding it around the internet. And they're asking, are these realtors? Come on, y'all. If you really want to be paid like a professional and treated like a professional, you need to look like one. In fact, I'll tell you a story about that because you told me I could tell stories.
Yeah.
So I had a house listed, and like many of us, we've had sellers that don't leave the vicinity during the showing. They go across the street to the neighbor's house. This is before videos. This was several years ago. And so she had gone across to the neighbor's house and was in the bonus room doing this. She was peeking out the window. Who's looking at my house? How long are they in there? And my phone rings and Tasha says, hey, who's in my house? I said, baby, you have a showing and you have an appointment. We're good. Get back to work. 10 minutes later, they're still in my house. That's good. Maybe they like it. Go back to work. 10 minutes later, Leigh, they're still in my house. I said, maybe they like it. Stop it. Go finish your work. 10 minutes later, she calls back, Leigh, I think they're in my house having sex. And I said, that is quite a stretch, girl. And she said, I need you to find out they're having sex in my house. And I said, you're going to have to tell me why I need to make this phone call. Because as a professional realtor, I know I'm the messenger sometimes. What am I going to be telling them? And she said, well, when they went in my house, he was wearing blue jeans and a t-shirt, and she was wearing a really tight t-shirt with cleavage hanging out and blue jeans with holes all in them. They didn't look like they were in real estate. It looked like she was going to my house to have sex. And I was like, oh, geez. And so I called the other agent and I said, hey, this is Leigh Brown with One Community. How can I help you? How are you? And she said, hey, I'm showing your house. I said, yeah, I know. I said, my seller is watching you. I said, and I just have to ask you one question. I'm the messenger here. Are y'all having sex in my listing? And she's like, oh, I can't believe you would ask me that. I said, listen, girl, I said, I believe you. I said, but the reason she asked me that is the clothing that you're wearing. I said, she's not convinced that you are a professional realtor. And she's like, we're going to a concert afterward. He's a friend of mine. We're going to go meet his wife. And I said, that's cool. I'm cool. I don't care what you're doing after the showing. I understand that you have multiple things happening in your life, but this is the seller's perception. And I think that's what we forget, is that we think our own perception matters most, and that's not it. We work with the general public, and when we're trying to get buyers and sellers to trust us, we need to look like we are worthy of that trust and that we are elevated and confident in our ability. And unfortunately, and people are going to argue with me about this, and I'm sure you'll have some ugly comments telling me I'm wrong and I'm snotty and whatever, but if you don't look like you're worth it, nobody's going to think you are. Think about your first date when you go on it. You do not go on a first date in yoga pants and a big old sweatshirt and expect to let off your best impression. You also don't go on a first date showing everything the Lord gave you, because that's sure as the world going to give off a signal you don't want to give off. You got to think about this, people. And it's not a lot
Perception's
of money.
real.
It's as simple as a blazer over a top that makes you look like you put something together. Drives me crazy. And the worst thing, David, is that one poor actor in another market makes you and I look bad, because we are all, as realtors, painted with the same broad brush. And so you have to make a decision. Who am I going to represent today? The best part of me or the lowest? And I think we should represent the best.
I love it. Great advice. And for everybody listening, I mean, again, if you're not familiar with Leigh, coach, trainer, author, podcast host, you put out a ton of content across so many different channels. I like to call that building mind share. Okay.
Well, bet. It might be Mindshare 101.
Oh, drop that. I love it. No, seriously though, right? Like there's the idea though, but it's, I'm curious to know though, for you, because I think everybody listening is so caught up with all the different tech. And you just mentioned, I love what you said there a few minutes ago about, and forgive me to quote the way you said it, but phone calls. You can get so much more done in a phone call than we can through a text message, an email, whatever. Like, it's amazing what the phone can do. Yet we hear from so many different people all the time. Oh, my clients don't want to talk on the phone. Oh, you know, they prefer a text message. And it's like, wait a second. This is the biggest asset of somebody's life. You need to connect on that, right? So I'm curious to know from you though, because again, through the confusion around podcasting and video and chatbots and whatever, all the different messages we can get, because we both know the minute we get off here, I got Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, I got text messages, I got emails, I got God knows whatever, you know, LinkedIn and Insta, they're all going off, all of them. And it's great. I love everybody messaging me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But to that, because we've got so much of this at our disposal, I'm curious to know, what is your favorite channel? Like, where do you see the absolute biggest ROI? Or again, is it the combination of everything you do that helps build the brand and then, you know, bring that back to you? You're just developing relationships with people.
So I'll go a couple different directions on this. The first one is, I know when something's a bot. I don't like bots, and I don't think you do either.
Hate bots.
And so those of y'all that are signing up for it because it looks easy, yeah, it is easy. It's too easy. Relationships aren't easy. Relationships are about asking questions and uncovering truths and then responding in kind. And a chatbot's not going to do that for you. And don't be fooled, because today's consumer is very savvy. They also know what bots are. They know that the shoes they looked at on Amazon are following them around the internet because of the nefarious ways of the internet. So you're not some amazing realtor just because you clicked on a service that allows you to do the same. Consumers not stupid. All right. So we have to fix that assumption. So I say that because I respond to all my stuff. So I respond to my Insta messages, my LinkedIn's, my Facebooks, my emails. All that stuff is me responding, unless it is my team responding, in which case they say, hey, Leigh said to tell you this, because we don't want to be inauthentic. Now, I do have autoresponders set up on Facebook Messenger with my business page, just because with 25,000 people on the page, I don't want them to think they've been unnoticed, but I wrote the autoresponder. And so it's not an autoresponder, it's Leigh Brown autoresponder. And they know that it was me, and I will get back to them. And so you have to respond to stuff yourself. You want any of this to have an ROI, it sure the heck better be actual you. Now, my world is multi-pronged because I do run a real estate brokerage. I do still sell houses. I do want to make sure agents can find a home here. And I have a speaking business, which is continuing to grow. And so I'm hitting multiple channels. And so with that being said, my content often bridges both channels. I have a realtor tip series where I tell about what to ask a realtor, things to know about selling and buying houses, things to look for. And that's used by other realtors. They will take it, make their own version, and run with it. I love that. That's part of the coaching and consulting side. And by the way, the world's so big, you can totally be transparent with everything you know, and it won't make your world any smaller. Okay. So you can't be all, call me for more, because that's tacky. I just throw it all out there. And then consumers love it because they want to know these things. In fact, the buyer I was with last night writing this offer that I'm trying to get to this agent found me through my videos. And they said, oh, are you going to make a video in this house that we're looking at? And I said, actually, I am, because they weren't buying it, but there was a detail I wanted to showcase because I had explained it to them, and they've watched all my videos, and they were excited that I was going to share what I shared with them with the world. So that's one angle. I showcase other local businesses because as an entrepreneur, I like building other people up. And there's a major power in talking less about yourself and more about others, because people can be drawn back to you if what you're doing is actually authentic and helpful. That's been so much fun. Those are really big on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is probably the most wide open opportunity for people doing video, because most agents and realtors and lenders and marketers are not putting video on LinkedIn. It's a very static platform. But when you do video, the engagement is fantastic because you do stand out on that timeline. But just the pro tip, if you do video on LinkedIn, it needs to be in a square format.
Yep.
And the program that I use for subtitles, which has jacked me in the search engines, is called Zubtitle, Z-U-B title. And I'll send you a referral code that'll give people half off their subscription. I'll have Michelle send that over.
Perfect.
But within Zubtitle, and I know I'm glad to get a freaking referral code for recommending people. It's been driving me crazy, but I can format it as a square, and I add the subtitles. And that also means I'm compliant with ADA, which means all those big giant tech companies, they favor content that's compliant with ADA. And so you'll see subtitles on my IGTV, on my Facebook videos, on YouTube. I used to do a lot of live. I do less live now because I want to cut it, add the subtitles, and then load it. And so I now have added that step, but it's been very productive. But the most business I have comes from Facebook still. It's the biggest of our platform. I enjoy Instagram the most because it's a happy place.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, I get business from. It's just not a relationshipy place. The best description I ever heard of LinkedIn, and I would totally give credit if I could ever find out who said it, but they called LinkedIn the pressed khakis of social networks. And it's totally the pressed khakis. And I'm on Pinterest. I use Pinterest primarily to get workout ideas and supper ideas, but the videos work there too, because Pinterest rolled out video last year. And I don't know of hardly anybody putting video on Pinterest. Well, mine get a whole lot of traction because nobody else is there. So you want to always be where somebody else is not. And it's not just space-wise, it's content-wise. And I'll be rolling out a new series. If I can get my nerve up, I've got a new podcast I'm about to start, and it's going to be a little bit abrasive and edgy. So
if you can get your nerve up.
Yeah.
I don't know that you're going to have a tough time with that one. But tell me this though, because when we look at those different channels, one thing that I've learned through a lot of the coaching programs that I run, through a lot of the group training that I run, because we do a lot of Q&A with polls and everything else, is that we know everybody hates door knocking, prospecting, cold calling, doing the things
door
they got to get.
Knocking works.
It does it ever. I say, listen, I've asked this question thousands of times, and I will say it. I will preach it till the cows come home. Listen, 96% of people do not like to door knock. The 4% that do, 99% of them say they see business from it. So that's just. But here's the thing, though. One thing we know from the prospecting and cold calling and door knocking, they don't like doing it. Okay. Then you ask, where does most of your business come from? And it's from referrals naturally, right? Which AKA relationships. Well, then you say, okay, well, what about, what do you hate doing? And it's giving free advice. It's giving free value. Yet they love networking and they love referrals. So isn't that where all this social media, because back to what you just said with Pinterest and LinkedIn and Insta and Facebook and everything else, and you say that Facebook is a main driver, but you're very much involved in Facebook. I'm going to ask straight, are you spending a ton of money on ads to get that business, or is this Leigh being Leigh on Facebook?
It's Leigh being Leigh. I mean, I do run some promoted posts. All right. So when I list a house, I do an ad because the sellers like to see it. But I'm spending $20. I mean, your sellers need to know that you're targeting it correctly, because you don't have to spend a lot of money on a Facebook ad. If you're a smart enough nerd, I know that a house that I listed in 28027 highly likely has a buyer coming from 28269, because I know the zip code traffic in the US. The information's available. So I'm going to show that house to 28269. Why not show it to the whole country? A buyer might be out there. That's a needle in a haystack. I'm going to go fish in the smallest stocked pond I can so that I can be in front of the correct suspects. So if I'm going to do advertising, I need to be really, really specific about how my dollars are spent. But that's also why I don't spend money on Zillow and all these other websites. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen, is realtors that give away so much of their commission money to a company that's out there trying to please shareholders and make money for advertising, when for heaven's sakes, y'all could take that $1,000, sponsor 3 little league teams, go to the ball field and bring Gatorade and orange slices to the kids. The parents would want to know who you are that's being helpful to their precious pumpkins. They will reward you with their business because you're building relationship, and not just building relationship. You're a neighbor. When you say, I live over there, and that's why I sponsor ball teams here, that's more impactful than you being on Zillow saying, I've got 5 stars and 27 team members and I'm amazing.
Right. Is everybody catching this stuff? Like this is massive information you're getting right now, Leigh. I mean,
you get business from it, but it's not all happy business. I want happy business, David. I'm too old to deal with assholes anymore. Aren't you?
Well, but this is the reality, right? And here's the thing. As you get old and tired in this business, do you want to be running and gunning and spending as much money and as much energy as you used to go and get that business?
Right.
Absolutely not. Hence why to work the contact list. So tell me this now. You've written a few books. One of them is titled The 7 Deadly Sins of Sales. Now, I don't want to give everything away because I do want to encourage everybody, go to leighbrown.com, go and buy the book. I don't know if you can buy it right there. I think you can.
You can. And if you get the Audible on Amazon, I narrated it in a basement of a high school friend's house. He's got a sound studio, so that was a lot of fun.
Can we get that on actual Audible?
Yeah, it's on Audible.
Yeah? Okay,
and you will hear my accent in your ear at night.
I love that. I love it. I will be downloading that 100%. Especially when you either know the people or you follow the people and you can hear their voice. It's one thing that when somebody else is narrating, you're like, but I'm just not getting the same thing from them.
Well, I mean,
right?
Unless it was Morgan Freeman. Now, if Morgan Freeman had agreed to narrate it, I might have said yes.
Yeah, I could probably do that, right?
Yeah.
But tell me this. I don't want to give everything away, but can we dive into those a little bit? Those 7 sins, what are they? Or can we go down that road a little?
There's actually 11 in the book because I'm a realtor and I don't math. And I had lots of sins I could come up with. there's a bunch of sins in the book. So, I mean, there's tons in there. You want me to tell you my favorite one?
Sure.
The biggest sin we have? And this, by the way, is an international sin. So it's not just in the U.S. I love my Canuck realtors. Y'all are like, that's a U.S. idea. I think that's hilarious. And I know that Ray and Amy Ferris are watching this. Hey, they're my favorite Canadian realtors.
Shout out to Ray and Amy. Love them.
They're like the best in the whole Toronto area. And Ray's a past president of the association.
Yep.
And by the way, if you ever run into realtors that are serving in volunteer leadership, you should high five and thank them because it's unpaid volunteer work that they do to protect their communities. It's a big deal. So anyway, that being said, you should also follow Ray on Twitter because he's awesome on Twitter.
Yes, he is. He definitely is.
He and I get very political over there. So if you're not political, maybe stay away from being Ray on Twitter. Well, that's why I didn't mention Twitter as a social network because frankly, it's a dumpster fire unless you enjoy the dumpster fire of politics in today's world. So that being said, the number one sin to me in real estate space, and again, internationally, is what I call substance over ego. I mean, ego over substance. Because real estate for years has trained realtors to say, oh, you didn't call the company, you called me. And I'm number one. And the greatest compliment you can pay me is a referral of your friends and family. And I'm never too busy for your referrals. And
are you too busy to paint my house?
Right?
What about cut my grass?
I love Brian Buffini, but he's been way too successful because the wording of that phrase, oh, I'm not too busy for your referrals, is so snotty. I mean, it's really snotty. It's like, I mean, I'm busy, but not for you, David. Oh, really? Oh, come down off your queen You're thrown there, queen, and help me out. Stop. I mean, it's so gross. And that bullshit of the greatest compliment you can pay me is a referral of your friends and family. Dude, I am still trying to find anybody anywhere who got a business card that said, well, he said it was a compliment. So here's my mom. When has that ever happened? I mean, people don't give out referrals based on that. They give referrals based on your connectivity to them. And so we've allowed all of this ego to take our space. And I love talking to realtors who are super busy. They want to hire an assistant. They want to hire a buyer's agent. They want to scale their knowledge and their expertise. But their big fear is, but the phone rang and they asked for me. And so they want me. And I'm like, no, baby, they don't. If they want to buy a house, they want the door unlocked.
That's
if
right.
They want to sell a house, they want to sign in the yard. Now, once they meet you, they can find out that you are definitely differentiated in the marketplace and that you do have additional qualities. But from the get-go, they just have a need that needs to get met. And as realtors, we have to get out of our own way and provide what the consumer wants today, which is speed of communication. They want answers. They want professionalism. They don't want to be sold. They would like to buy, but they don't want to be sold. And there's a difference. And so I do, like, my first book was Outrageous Authenticity. And I'm talking about how you are your best sales weapon. I'm talking about not being icky, but being the person that they can trust enough to say, we kind of like this one. You're like, all right, let's pull the information together, see if we can make it happen, instead of, oh, well, this is perfect for you. Nobody wants that. So if we get our ego out of the way and start answering what they want, because consumers don't like secrets held from them. And if we look at the research that the National Association of Realtors has done, there's a report called the Profile of Home Buyers and Sellers, which is ridiculously helpful. And you'll see that the number one thing the consumer wants in a realtor is honesty. They're not asking for number one. They're not asking for your sales data. They just want you to tell them the truth. And so they want that in the way of what I call substance. And to me, substance is providing information on market conditions. It's explaining the different kinds of financing. To me, it's definitely explaining all the pitfalls in a transaction, because realtors love to say how easy they're going to make real estate. And if there's one thing we know about real estate, it's not easy.
No.
And almost every transaction, something's going to happen that makes you go, well, I've never seen that before. And the consumers are over there going, oh my God, 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 I don't know what to do. Oh. And our job as a realtor is like, all right, let's figure this out, because that's what we do. That's the substance we provide. And
so what's your thought here then?
Marketing message.
So with this whole world we're in today, with all the social and the video and everything else, and this whole idea around branding yourself, right? There's a lot of realtors that are going out and branding themselves. And, I don't know, this has been going on for 15, 20 years, whatever it is. And you get a little set of colors and logos, and that's all good. You can identify yourself, but then it's gotten to a different level. Like, realtors have I mean, the industry seems to have taken on this thing like I've got to become an influencer to be a successful realtor, and start to take, vanity pictures and posting and quotes. And, I think that we've gone away from what you're really supposed to be waking up to do every single day.
Yeah, substance.
Right? Like that, there it is, ego over substance, right there, or substance over ego, pardon me.
What you're doing in real estate. And if you do, tell people, help them and get there. But it's exactly what you're saying. So they want to take a picture in front of an open house looking cool with little duck lips or whatever that is. That's fine, but you're doing that for likes. You should be in front of your open house with the seller's permission, first of all. Don't do video without a client's permission, because they own that house. And say, what's the favorite thing about this house? Man, we love the back patio. Awesome. Make your video at the back patio and say, people who are selling this house, this was their favorite feature. I kind of like it too. And I wish I could sit down and drink a beer, but I can't because I have an open house today. So if you come see me now, then you can look at the house, and you can join me later at Johnny's, where there's a new craft brew, if you want to just talk real estate later. So you could have both angles. You can have the influencer piece while you showcase a property, while you honor your seller, while being relaxed. I mean, this is the beauty of video and of social media. It's just most agents are deathly afraid. They're scared to death of saying the wrong thing, offending somebody, because of course we're in the society of the perpetually offended, where everybody's looking to be mad about something. Dude, take it in the short sometimes if you make a mistake. I run my mouth nonstop. I forever get in trouble for saying things wrong. You understand. And
100%.
It's all right, because as a grown person, I have zero left to give, because I'm not perfect. I'm not supposed to be perfect. I'm supposed to be relatable. And I think most of us are not perfect. And so you're more relatable when you're not perfect. In fact, one of my best videos ever I had bought some eye cream because I get bags under my eyes being a medium-aged woman. And so I was in my bathroom, no makeup on. I was showing what that cream does for me. And of course, it gets a couple thousand views. And I have all these comments. Where can I get it? Where can I get it? Where can I get it? And then people actually reach out to me. They're like, well, what's the wrinkle cream for my house? Oh, the wrinkle cream for your house is me and my stranger coming over to help you get it ready because the house isn't perfect. We can make it better. And so that's where you think about how you're the most vulnerable part of yourself can be the expert on things besides real estate, which allows you to be an expert on real estate. But to get to that point, you need to figure out what it is that you're doing as a realtor, because it makes my heart sad. A lot of agents don't know what they do. What do you do as a realtor? Show houses. No, that's just a job task. What do you do? I build wealth. No, you don't. That's their money. What do you do? They're lost. They really don't know what a realtor does. They don't understand that what realtors do is manage the emotional roller coaster of the transaction.
Right.
We are managing the highs and the lows and the uncertainties. And I always tell my sellers when they're interviewing me, I'm like, the reason you hire me is because I get my jollies out of helping you navigate the minefield of real estate. And you might get blown up and I might get blown up, but pieces of us will get across the finish line. And
Well,
then
that's
they're
the
like,
thing.
wait, what do you mean I might get blown up? They never think they're going to get blown up because every other realtor says they're going to make it easy. So again, be in the space nobody else is in. It's that blue ocean strategy, which is a great book if you haven't read it. So good.
Have not. We'll check that out as well.
Blue ocean strategy, dude. Write that down because you need that since you're an entrepreneur whose brain is too full.
Blue ocean strategy. Can I get that on Audible too? Because I like Audible. I can't sit down and read a book. I mean, I'll be looking at a book, I'll be reading it, I'll be watching the words, and I'll be here. You know, my mind will be out there rather than like right where I'm supposed to be. But if I got it in my ear or it's in the car while I'm driving, because a lot of people, you know, let's turn down turn up the music, roll down the windows. Let's just enjoy No. You're either making phone calls or you're feeding your brain. Those are the moments right there to be able to educate yourself, right? Or make more connections.
At least once a week. If you want to listen to music because it jazzes you up, that's cool. But you people, y'all got to carve out a little time and feed your brain. He's absolutely right. Too many of us aren't feeding our brains. We're being fed whatever the media wants to feed us, and you're not even double checking what they're telling you. Come on, y'all. Don't be sheeple.
Right. Sheeple. Yeah. We use sorry.
No sheeple.
We use that one a lot. So your other book, you just brought this up, Outrageous Authenticity. And I absolutely love this. We know that being authentic is powerful. I echo the exact same message all the time with people. I'm telling people, like, be your authentic self, right? Be who you are. And I think a lot of people struggle with this. Who are they? Do they even know who they are? Do they know what they do for a living? Do they want to share who they are and what they do just as people? And you just brought up eye cream and putting that stuff out there. And we talk about, networking and free advice. It doesn't always have to be real estate related.
No.
It's about connecting with people. So what do you think? Like, what can people do to truly figure that out, to get comfortable in their skin, get comfortable with who they are, want to share that with people?
Okay, it's so easy. So you call the last 5 people who were your real estate clients. Now, not your 5 favorites people. You don't cherry pick, just the most recent 5. And offer to take them for a cup of coffee because, frankly, you need to do more face-to-face interactions anyway. It's not just good for business. It's good for your humanity to learn how to put the devices down and go eyeball to eyeball, especially my young millennial friends. Y'all are terrible with body language and with inflection and eye contact.
I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
More practice makes you better.
Okay.
And so those 5 people, you're going to sit down with them and you're going to say, I really appreciate you. Can you tell me why you picked me? I mean, you had thousands of people. Just tell me why. And they'll be like, I don't know. Well, what was one thing that stood out to you about the transaction that was really, really hard? What was the hardest part of buying or selling a house? What was the easiest part of buying or selling a house? Did I help with that process? And they're going to give you so many insights. And for those of y'all that are the lovey-dovey, huggy people, your client base is going to say, we love her because she held our hand and we never were surprised. And they know that you nurtured and cared for them. My clients aren't like that because I'm not a huggy bear with my clients. I'm all bottom line. Here's your answers. We're going to laugh at this. And we're going to deal with the bullshit and move on. And my clients will say they love me because I tell them the truth. And they love me because I'm super communicative and I always get answers. And they know that their best interests are being protected. while I'm not going to leave blood on the table, I'm definitely going to advocate for my clients. And so they'll tell you. Now, once your 5 people tell you that you were an educator and you answered all their questions, or they tell you that you fought for them and they appreciate it, or they loved your communication, that's your marketing campaign. It's that easy. And so then you need to go to your websites, people, and all of your postcards and your marketing, because for most of y'all, it's dreadful. And it says, I grew up here and I love helping people with real estate. Well, every realtor's website says that. Yours should be like, I love real estate because I love people making me brownies at the closing table. And I know I did a good job when they make me baked goods, because frankly, you absolutely did a great job if somebody's bringing you a present while they're paying you thousands of dollars. So why not say that you're honored when they welcome you into their lives? Say the things people say about you. And you're not going to attract every client. We, as an industry, we have to let go of being all things to all people. And I know it ticks people off, so let me do it again. Let me show you my target on the wall. And so I have had people say, well, Leigh, I'm just not comfortable with that because I'm anti-gun. I'm like, that's fine. I'm not. So you can be. That's cool. I'm not going to fight with you. If you don't use me, because I am an advocate for agent safety, and that's my tool of choice, because guns don't have agency. They're just tools. Properly deployed, they're fine. So if you aren't comfortable with that, you have 11,000 realtors in Charlotte from whom to select. I'm cool with that. And I will tell you that you have to be okay with losing a little business to be who you are, because I have drawn in far more business by being who I am than I have lost by faking it.
Well, there's the thing. And I think that, so, okay, here, how do people get over that fear then? Right. Because I'm scared what people are going to think. I'm a little bit nervous. Like, what if they know?
But listen, who told you in life that everybody had to like you? Who fed you that bullshit?
There it is.
I mean, come on. We're not an era of polygamists. You didn't marry everybody you ever dated. That would be really painful for everybody. What happened to us that we had to please everybody? Why are we in this cancel culture that says, I don't agree with you, you must be destroyed? What happened to that? The world is big.
I think these things have had a problem with it.
I hate these things.
I'm telling you, but it's the Facebook. It's all
I would
that
go
stuff.
back to the bag phone in a minute.
Right? Right. But there's the idea. And you think about that. And this takes us like almost full circle in today. But it's back in that day with that bag phone, or when the people were walking around with pagers and quarters in their pockets. That stuff still today is what makes people successful, right? It's that connection point. It's that thought of, I'm not out there worried about what everybody, are they going to like it? Are they going to have a negative comment about it? No. It's connect with people, build relationships with people, right? Understand why you're doing it. In fact, with that, like that one thing in sales that people need to have to do to be successful. And you mentioned this, I was reading this again within your website. We've heard a lot about this reconnecting with your why. Are you somebody who, and we've heard a lot about that. Like, it's funny, it's almost become cliche, like know what your why is. But I was listening to Grant Cardone the other day, and he used the same line. He's like, but cliches work. Like, that's why they're cliches. And I'm
There's
like,
a reason.
hell
That's
yeah.
right.
That makes a lot of sense, right? But it's that thing of going back to that, are you somebody who sets goals and really plans out? And I want to take a stab at the fact that like you are, but I mean, I used to think that stuff was all a bunch of BS just because I could never figure out which way was up. And then a number of years ago, I started doing that. I'm like, the whole world became clear, right? Now you start to know why you're doing what you're doing.
So I'll show you. So I kind of have goals and I kind of don't, because I get distracted. I have too many irons in the fire, and I'm a yes sayer. I have a very hard time saying no. But behind me, you see my whiteboard. I've got client names on the whiteboard so I can visually remember who I'm working with. And there's actually 2 names missing that I just remember I need to add up there. But I'm a journaler. And so every day I'm journaling. And I might have sermon notes from church. And then I have a very fancy drawing here of an organizational chart for my company. And then I've got the next keynote I'm putting together. I've got notes from a class that I took. There's the list of personal notes that I'm writing, and I put check marks on it. I keep everything in here, which means that on my shelf over there, I don't know if you can see it in the video or not. Oh yeah, see that pink book is on my shelf right there?
Yep.
That's where the finished journals begin. There's a giant stack of them. So I can actually, because I don't do the traditional goal setting and checking off of lists, I can actually watch my progression as a professional by reading through my old journals, and I watch how far I've come. And that encourages me to dial in and go do different things. And so you have to have a way to evaluate yourself, whether it's metrics on a goal of calls a day or it's closed sales. I'll be honest, closed sales don't mean to me what they used to, because I am financially stable now. And when you're not financially stable, your goals are different than when they are. And so now I know how many speaking engagements I have to book to hit that monetary goal. I know what I have to do as a company. And what I have to do as a company revolves around how I take care of my agents, because that will take care of this goal. So I have to be a better nurturer than I have been. And so if I'm taking care of things, then the goals will happen, but you can't forget your day-to-day activities. And I think that's where people fall off of their goals. They don't know what to do because they lost track of daily activities. And this goes back to real estate as a real job. What's your
Right.
disciplined daily activities? For me, it's outbound phone calls. Make one every day. And that doesn't sound like much, but it totally changes your business when every day at 8 o'clock, you pick up this thing and go to the contact manager and call somebody out of it. Not leads you bought from the internet, people you know, and say, hey, how you doing? I was thinking about you.
Oh my God, it's so funny because I get people. So what do I say? And I'll tell everybody, okay, get ready, write this down. And you see everybody scrambling for a pen, and you go, say hi.
Hey.
What's going on? They're like,
Yeah,
what?
thinking
That's
about
it?
you.
You're like, it's amazing when you say that, what somebody else on the other side of the phone is going to say to you. It's
Yeah, but
amazing.
that's honestly the beauty of the disconnected world. So those of us that are willing to make phone calls and send personal notes. So I do personal notes every day. I use real stationery. I'm very snobby about that.
You mean actual paper?
Look, I don't
Go
mean just
figure.
paper. Check, you can hear my paper. Listen to this. Stock, heavy stock. I'm Southern. It's monogrammed. You have to do it the right way. But I do that because when you get real mail nowadays, it stands out because nobody does it. When you make phone calls, it stands out because nobody does it. And this is,
Right.
and now I've said it like 5 times, be where nobody else is. And so all these younger agents that think you and I are crazy because we're in old school techniques, door knocking and phone calling and private personal notes, dude, it's more and more powerful now than it was 20 years ago when I got in, because back then everybody did it. And now people have gotten really lazy. These have made us lazy.
Well, you know, I mean, we know that millennials are actually trusting paper more than they're trusting digital messaging these days. Paper is actually a bright shining object to a millennial. And go
Well, you
figure
know,
that one, right?
I told my young agents, because I've got 2 millennials that are working for me and they love to text. And I said, listen, I know that you don't like to make phone calls. So what I want you to do is call somebody. They'll screen you and send you to voicemail. And then you text and say, that was me that called.
Support.
And that's where the difference maker comes in. You can
Right.
do both. But now you've set yourself apart because you put yourself out there. Because millennials see an outbound phone call as legit putting yourself out there for rejection.
Yeah.
And they respect the hell out of that. So why not take that next step? But I will point one more thing out on millennials, which I find to be fascinating because I look at data.
Yeah.
We talk about how they are this giant home buying population and there's all these houses we could sell to millennials, but they're not buying. And you know why?
They don't have the money.
They do.
Okay.
They're not buying primary residence because they don't want to put roots down. They don't know that's where they want to live because they didn't grow up planning to get married and have kids and have a family. They've grown up with grandiose ideas for saving the world and take a big job and relocate. So you know what millennials are doing? They're buying investment properties. And I'm fascinated by this. And I've got a buyer I was working with yesterday morning who is paying $1,500 US in rent every month. The house that he's renting, he can buy for $1,000 mortgage payment. He's like, I don't want to buy it. I don't want to stay. I'm like, baby, if you buy it, you don't have to stay. You can buy it, live in it for a year and a half, 2 years. Your girlfriend finishes nursing school and then y'all move and you keep it as an investment property. And that's what a lot of them are doing. And so we're working internally on updating our messaging to millennials to say, you can go ahead and buy an investment property without a primary. So you have to really pay attention to how these different generational groups are responding to changing market conditions, and then your business will grow. And how do I know this? Well, it's by, first of all, reading, because I read lots of research papers, and it's also by having really good conversations. And there's an amazing realtor in Chicago. Her name is Shawn Pinkston. She's hilarious, and you actually should talk to her because she calls herself the oldest millennial, and she's my age, which is really funny. But she's been reaching millennials through talking about investing, and she's got this whole program of educating them through the process, and it's making her business grow because she's really paying attention to that market. And this is also a good time for me to point out, any realtors watching this, if y'all aren't going to conferences and conventions and volunteering, you're missing out on all these relationships with people around the world who will gladly tell you what they're doing so you can replicate it in your market. because I hate to be the one to tell y'all this. There are no participation trophies in real estate, and you are not that special. Whatever you're doing that's working, you didn't come up with it. Somebody else did, and you've implemented it. But there's somebody out there doing something better. Go learn from them, implement it, and then give it back to the ecosystem. Everything I do that I've learned, I've gotten from other people. I've tweaked it, made it better. I give it back to the ecosystem. You have to do that. It's a big enough space of abundance that we could all do that and get better. Okay, so tell me this then, before we wrap. When it comes to remaining relevant, because of the face of technology, because of all the social, because of all these different generations sort of in the industry and the people we're dealing with, you take that seasoned veteran, you take that rookie realtor, you take everybody in between. What is that message you would say to them in terms of, how does it, because again, when we look at the bots and we look at, the iBuying and everything else, how do people remain relevant in this business? What can they do with their biz to make sure that they are not becoming obsolete? So first of all, you need to know what you're doing. You need to figure out the why. And it's not too late for you to figure that out, because you are not creating wealth. You are not showing houses. You are the cornerstone of property rights and somebody's chance to have financial stability in the future. And if you understand that that's what you do as a realtor, that you're giving somebody the opportunity to save for the future, it changes your conversations. And when you change your conversations, you become less icky. And when you're less icky, people want to call you about real estate questions. And when they call you about real estate questions, they're more likely to call you about real estate needs. When they call you about real estate needs, you're more likely to sell houses. It all starts from why you're doing this business. And then you have to think about, how do you get that to be part of your community's mind share? And so you've got to make sure that your comments, your thoughts are on your website and your marketing and your social media, so that people can connect the dots and know that there's something different about you. The websites and the hedge funds and the apps will eliminate a certain number of realtors. And for that, I'm grateful, because they're going to remove the lazy ones who are out there muddying the waters and not doing their level best for the consumer. Because there are so many realtors out there that do an amazing, amazing job, and they live, breathe, and die for their communities and for their clients. Those realtors will be fine in the future because they know exactly who they are and why they're doing it. So you have to figure that out. You read Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, because he's the one that started the whole movement. Yep. Or you can watch his TED Talk from 2010 or 11, whenever that was, 15 minutes. And you'll realize that you've got to stop telling people what you do and instead explain to them why you're the one that they should call. And it changes everything. And that's future-proofing your business right now. And the other half of future-proofing your business is something that the Canadian realtors have really gotten on board with in the last 2 years, and that's property rights advocacy within our government and our elected officials. Because so much is happening on the legislative and regulatory front in the U.S. and in Canada. And as realtors, we're the only ones who understand the impact on homeowners and business owners when elected officials do stupid things. And so we go nonpartisan, shoulder to shoulder, and explain to them, you can't do this because this harms our most vulnerable homeowners. This harms our business owners. That impacts jobs. We are the voice at the table. And so you need to find out what your association is doing with property rights advocacy. You can reach out to a Ray Ferris. He can connect you to people with the Ontario crowd. I can connect you to anybody in the U.S. But as a realtor, you better understand that your job is bigger than that next commission, because if you are focused on just commission to commission, you're done. I love it. I love it. So now you brought up the word mindshare. I got a question. What is the first name that comes to mind when I say real estate? The first what? The first name that comes to your mind when I say real estate. Leigh Brown. I love it. I knew you'd get it. Like, there was no doubt you weren't going to get that. Leigh, you said that people can get your books on Audible. Yeah. I mean, Amazon. It's on Amazon. They're on LeighBrown.com. All my stuff's on LeighBrown.com. I mean, you can watch all the videos on YouTube, and IGTV is my favorite, and Facebook and Pinterest and Snapchat. You won't find anything. I don't understand. I'm with you there. Snapchat ain't my thing. For the young people. And you've got your podcast, which is titled "Crazy Shit in Real Estate." So I had to grab that one for us today. But and you're going to be a guest on my show, right? Did we get that lined up yet? I'm happy to do so. Okay, well, Michelle's paying attention right now, so Beautiful. She'll get you scheduled, and you can cross post over on mine. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be good. You've got any final words you want to leave us with just before we take off? Be nice to each other. Make phone calls. Return phone calls. And frankly, if you're not having fun in real estate, you're doing it wrong.
I love it. I love it. Once again, another amazing guest on the Mindshare podcast. Leigh, thank you so much for taking the time today.
It's my pleasure to do anything that helps make the industry syndicate better and watch Mindshare grow. And by the way, those of y'all that are listening, if you need a speaker for your association or brokerage event, David can bring some energy. And I can too, frankly. You should probably bring both of us in. I'll do morning to wake them up, and he'll do afternoon to keep them awake. And so, it's a great setup.
You're either listening to this on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or Spotify. Or maybe you went to industrysyndicate.com. Maybe you downloaded our free Industry Syndicate podcast app. Or maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com. Wherever you like to consume your content, please rate, review, and subscribe. And if you haven't yet, connect with me on Facebook at Mindshare101 and on Instagram at DavidGreenspan101. This has been another episode of the Mindshare Podcast. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.